Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Monte and Wolf. It's your boy dGon. It's hatless Wolf today. No hat, Wolf. What's up, man? Just going all naked with the hair.
I had a little extra time to actually take a shower before the show today, so I was happy to clean up. My hair doesn't look, it's not like I styled it or anything, but I was like, you know what, hatless Wolf is okay. I'm ready to go hatless today. Yeah.
Jeez, does that mean your hats normally stink?
No, what? Why would my hat stink?
Because you said it was before you took a shower.
It doesn't mean that people normally wear a hat when they go out, for example, or go onto a very popular podcast when they haven't washed their hair, so their hair's a little bit messed up in the morning or something like that. You ever go to the mart with a hat on, then you don't come back and smell your hat and go, "Whoa!" It's just that your hair is uncomfortable. My hair is like stinky. I washed it yesterday.
I need everyone to find the hat they've most recently worn and smell it, and just let me know if it stinks. Like, not even like stinky, but just it smells used. It smells outside. It smells. Right now, your hair probably smells really good. Let's get to comments. I don't know. I don't know how that happened. I'm sorry. All right, let's get to a couple comments here because last episode we brought up the format. Better to be in 4th, 5th of Legend or 1st, 2nd of Rise, and some of y'all had some pretty solid comments, some informed comments, starting with LW. 1383 said, BDD wrote a message in B Stage, the KT fan membership platform. Good to know. That he still preferred to be in Legend and lose rather than Rise and win because his objective is to qualify to Worlds. The translation, so it might not be accurate. They said, I really hope all these losses help them improve and not affect their mentality going into playoffs. Still rooting for them to take the 4th seed because BDD deserves it.
But this was
I don't know.
A Korean comment or
the
YouTuber is translating BDD's comment from B Stage.
Okay. Yes. So thank you, LW. I don't know if it's already too late for the losses to affect their mentality going to playoffs. Like, that feels like such a light switch move to be like, all right, we made it to playoff, y'all. We only beat Nongshim, but who cares? We're in. Let's focus. Like, that feels a little bit too late for my liking, Wolf.
If you can keep the focus on every single time you play against any of these teams, including Nongshim, right? But obviously they beat Nongshim. But if you can keep the focus on every single time I play GenG or T1 or Hanwha, I can beat them. And you can keep that mentality, then you can beat them in a best of 5 on the day in playoffs if you hit them, right? And you've already earned your spot there. So I suppose that's kind of the mentality you have to try to keep. That said, from watching KT play against the big 3, I don't know if they have that mentality right now, dGon. It does not seem like it. Right. So I think in BDD's case, obviously BDD's probably my favorite player of all time. Definitely my favorite player right now. But in BDD's case, like, he wants to say something that's going to give the KT fans hope, but I also think he wants to keep his own, mental screwed on straight, so to speak. Like, he has to tell himself that this is what he wants. He wants to be in this group. He wants to try his hardest. Like, the end goal is still Worlds, right? And I think the honesty BDD's had in a lot of his interviews recently, and obviously on this fan post that I hadn't seen until you mentioned this comment, is really good to see, because I think a lot of players also kind of just hide behind like, no, it's totally fine, or just decline to comment on these types of issues. But I think BDD's a mature enough and experienced enough veteran to where he can kind of acknowledge this, whereas maybe Perfect has a little bit less he wants to say about it, right now.
Yeah. Off the Grid, user Off the Grid says, it's a tough call, but if I had to choose, it's 5th place in Legend Group, because either the gap widens or lessens between you and GenG, or it doesn't. You have a clear goal and insight on what you need to do and how you need to fix your draft prio. They then go into talking about how Dplus is in a tough situation for Showmaker aiming and barrel. And then they finish their comment with DK fighting, KT fighting, Nongshim fighting. So Off the Grid, a little confusing, but I like the idea of no matter what, you're at least 5th from GenG. And that's the goal, right? It's a reminder of the goal, but I don't think it takes into consideration the toll it takes. But then on the opposite side, by using Dplus as the example, they don't have the opportunity to strategize against GenG and T1. And so it does feel like all of a sudden you're going to have to also do a different light switch kind of thing of, all right, we've been dealing with drafts against teams that are theoretically worse than us. And now all of a sudden we've got to flip the switch in playoffs if we make it through play-ins and try to prep for a GenG and a Hanwha. How do you feel about that from a Dplus perspective?
Well, one of the things that we just don't know about right now, and maybe I should like reach out to Arnold about this and see if he is willing to give me information I can share with everyone about this, is how much are the top 3 legend teams scrimming against like Dplus, for example? Because if they're scrimming Dplus a lot, then at least Dplus can glean some information from that, maybe get some learnings from that, maybe give them some confidence. Maybe confidence is an issue for Dplus, like, and I mean it in the sense of like sometimes they're overconfident and make some really poor plays, especially from ahead. But it could be that like GenG, T1, and Hanwha are like, Dplus is just not worth my scrim time, and anyone below them is obviously definitely not either, and they just kind of still scrim each other because they're all locked in playoffs. So they can kind of just scrim each other. It may affect, they probably won't scrim each other right before they're about to play against each other, and they do play against each other regularly, but they may still keep the scrims to more legend group focused, which you would think is unusual when you're competing against these teams. And like at the beginning of the year, we were like, okay, are we going to see the Rise teams play against, play competitive series against each other, play their own style, and then scrim the legend groups and get better? That was kind of the theory. But if you're a legend team, is it worth your time to scrim these teams? You might be thinking about like, if you've got a good enough connection to hit some of these LPL teams, because we know Korean teams scrim LPL teams from time to time. Maybe you're thinking about that. Maybe you're thinking about just playing against the teams in your group, especially because we didn't have a score reset. Teams like GenG just aren't really worried, man. They just, like they aren't really worried about how much, these teams are getting close to them, because no one can pass them, no one can catch up to them. And even T1 and Hanwha, obviously they're very competitive against each other, but they can both scrim GenG probably and feel pretty good about it. So if we had a reset and if the group was really competitive, I'd be like, 100% they never scrim each other. But right now, who knows? Like, we just don't know. And I think that's one of the big factors here for whether or not these Rise group teams can improve and whether Dplus can improve in that 5th place spot. Because if they're being denied scrims, which again, I'm not trying to assume this is the case, but we just don't know. If they're not getting good scrims, then the teams that they're playing against, obviously in this group, aren't giving them the practice that's required to fix their coordination issues either. So I'd much rather be like, we've talked about a lot, in the position of Nongshim and KT, because you get those guaranteed games no matter what, and you get the guaranteed play-in spot.
I side with what Did has said on the desk, which is, as a player, you feel the losses, and wins, they don't long-term solve things, but they cover the cracks. They cover the cracks, and it's going to be a sprint to the finish with play-ins into playoffs with this new format. There is no championship points. There's none of that. It's play-ins. The playoffs are basically your championship points. And if you just feel like crap, you're going to play like crap. And that's what I worry about for Nongshim and for KT. But it doesn't seem like it's that much of a boost here for Dplus either, who aren't looking dominant. We'll cover that as one of our topics later on. Last one here, Wolf, and I feel like this is a question made for you to kind of pull the curtain back on how the LCK works. Candido Silveira 8743 said, "Do you know why the formats feel weird? Because the LCK wasn't ruthless enough with the implementation. They are treating Legend and Rise groups the same." No. 4 no's. We do not need to watch each Rise group play 12 best of 3s. That's too much. 6 is enough. Go wait for play-ins like they do in the LPL. Give us more Legend group games. Unfortunately, Nongshim and KT suck, but in most years, 4th and 5th place teams in the league are more competitive, so the matches will be more interesting. I feel like I know what you're going to say, but I want to hear from you.
All right. Well, I mean, you probably do know what I want to say. So there's there's two big reasons right off the bat as to why like we can't just say goodbye. Rise group teams, it sucks to suck, so to speak, which is basically what this commenter is kind of implying. Like, you know, you're not good enough. We want to watch the good teams. We don't have as many teams as the LPL, so if you cut off half of the teams, or even let's say bottom four, and you put it to 6 teams, then you end up with a pretty stale set of matches. Imagine what the Legend group is right now already, where we already kind of know who's better than everybody else, but then you just have a smaller set of games in general where you're already likely to know the outcome, and it just goes 4 or 5 times in a round robin, and you're like, ah, yes, KT against T1 again. Like maybe on the 4th or 5th time it'll be different, right? So you are going to have that obviously 3 times, but you're not going to have it 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And so like in order to make the broadcast days and work out the schedule to where you know, you have a season that's a length that makes sense, you would have to increase the amount of games these teams played against each other, or just change the format entirely and add an extra season. Like it just doesn't work to remove those teams. But the other more important reason why you can't knock these teams off is because they all purchased franchise spots for the LCK worth millions of dollars that says they will get the same amount of regular season games as every other team, so that those patches on their jerseys that they told sponsors, I am going to be guaranteed X games this year, they can sell that to sponsors. If you tell a sponsor, I have, you know, like if you're in this format, you have to tell a sponsor you're going to get way more guaranteed games. Every team has to say that, right? Like even at the beginning of the year, GenG would have to say like, I'm guaranteeing you this many games. If we win, we could get more, right? And like that, no sponsor wants to hear that, right? Obviously, if you say I have this many guaranteed games, and if you're T1, GenG, blah blah, you can say my viewership is way higher. By the way, you can show those viewership numbers than the other teams. Like I'm the team you want to put that patch on the jersey of. But you see, even the bottom teams have all those patches and sponsors on their jerseys. If you knock those teams out, they don't get that money, and they paid for that spot. And LCK just can't decide later on to change the deal and be like, yeah, you paid for this that's equal to everyone else, but also because you're kind of bad, we're going to take some of your games away because that's what we've decided to do. There are ways you could do that by like telling the teams like, I'm going to decrease your franchise payments or something like that, or we're going to make some deal. But like, how do you do that and make that fair? It's just not reasonable in this system. It's just not realistic. I don't know how they did it in the LPL, because obviously there's a similar scenario going on over there. But again, they have 17 teams. It's a very, very different type of format, a very different type of league. So here in the LCK, when we have about half of that, it's just not functionally viable. I think if you're looking for more of the good teams playing against each other, this format should be good for you, because in summer, in normal season, we'd have one less of these games that we're getting.
Yeah, exactly. I knew that's what you're going to say. I think to the point you were making, in the future, maybe that's something that they can change. Again, the franchising fees, maybe franchising goes away, probably not. But there's a way to make that happen. But with the fairness, and I remember when they were kind of presenting the plan to us last year, we were trying to figure out like, so how does this work? We're going to do 3 splits. Overall, there's more games played. Is this good? Is this bad? And I think with LCK Cup into a normal spring split, double round robin, to this triple round robin group format, now that we're at the end of it, there were things to tweak and upgrade, but overall, it didn't break. It wasn't bad. If Riot Central was like, hey, you guys got to make 3 splits, figure it out. And LCK, they made it pretty good. They made it pretty good. And I'm happy with it. The amount of games played were larger. I do think that, and we knew this, Wolf, from the numbers that were broken down to us, the teams in the middle of the pack are the ones that play the most games, more than what they would have if they were in double elimination. So I think if you were 8th, 7th, if you're Bro, if you're B&K Fear X, Dplus, you're getting way more exposure for your sponsors than what you would have if you weren't, in terms of
100%.
games.
Yeah, 100%. Like my issue with the format is not something you could have 100% predicted would happen, which is just incredibly top-heavy games in the Legend group that we just couldn't see coming. Because I think the Rise group, while we haven't seen as many improvements as I think people would have wanted to see, that's really just like everybody. Like Dplus is a fan favorite team, right? World Championship team. You have Showmaker, arguably the most popular team. I mean, I don't even think it's arguable. Like they're the most popular team in the Rise group. They just are. Like they're world champions. They have a huge fan base, right? And a lot of people are disappointed with what happened to Dplus in the group. But everybody else keeping it super competitive with each other, even if like DNF didn't take the win, some of those games were closer, right? Like they had a big throw against Bro, but you could see how close they were. Like the Rise group is kind of working. I feel like the Rise group is actually like anyone can beat anyone on any given day. We had like the Circle of Suck and all that stuff. Like that's cool. Like that's fun because when you show up to the LCK, you don't know who's gonna fucking win. That's rad. Like that's when you get to talk shit with your friends and be like, no, this is the time. I know Bro's gonna get this. I know Bro's gonna 2-0 Dplus, whatever. In the Legend group, you're like, no, I do know everything.
I do know.
There is no question. And like we thought it was kind of gonna be the Legend group is one where you really don't know, and any top team could beat any top team, and that's epic, and that's like the high level. But everyone is so good that not only is there such a hard tier list, but even in like the first 7 to 8 minutes of the game, you know who's gonna win, and you're like, oh god, the Legend group kind of sucks, man. I'm pretty bored of this.
Yeah.
And so like we couldn't have predicted that was going to be an issue. I mean, the LCK has always been kind of top heavy, but right now, like the top is even heavier than the rest of the top, like to such a crazy margin. Like that, the top team is so much heavier than the team that's right below it is something that you couldn't have known or predicted. I think there's some things that'll be tweaked next year. I hope LCK Cup gets a logo. And I hope we like lean into LCK Cup as its own tournament with like a road show and stuff a little bit more. Personally, that's what I want more than anything else. Because I think LCK Cup is really cool. I don't know why we didn't just call it LCK Winter and make it into its own special thing. But either way, I imagine there will be tweaks next year because everyone is talking about it. No matter where you go. You know, if you're walking around Lol Park, if you're outside Lol Park, you see a coach outside or some support staff smoking outside, and you see them in the elevator, everyone's like, man, this format, I don't know, it's not working. Like, a lot of people are really unhappy. So I think we will see big changes next year. I don't know what those changes will look like, but if you don't like the format now, I think that we'll have something similar next year, but likely with some changes that are probably good for you.
I like how you said we don't know what's going to happen in the Rise group. You know, we don't know what's going to happen in Legend group if it's 1 versus 2. Sorry, Hanwha, I'm calling T1 2. 1 versus 2 or 4 versus 5. But if it's any other combination of that, we already know what's going to happen.
I feel like we kind of know what's going to happen 1 and 2, but T1 did win once. Like that did happen.
It did happen. So I think that's been a nice little wrinkle. But otherwise, man, watching DNF invent new ways to lose, that is great entertainment. Great entertainment. Final comment here. Thank you, Candido Silviera. And then final comment here, King Kevin 619 saying, HLE, aka Has Learned English, is currently being carried by Viper. I just thought that one was witty enough. Has Learned English. Hanwha is going to be the first topic that we dive into, though, because they had their big week. They had the tough week, just like sometimes I think KT has had, Nongshim have had. It was T1 and GenG, the tests on the same week for Hanwha. They took on T1 earlier in the week. They pushed it to 3. They took on GenG later in the week. They also pushed that to 3. So Hanwha kind of showing some signs of improvement. Peanut remembering he can jungle now that he's hit the 800 game club and was out jungling Canyon in game number 2. It felt like, they lost 2-0 earlier in the week against T1. It felt like it was close. Yeah, but
it was close games, but they did not win.
No, they did not win. Because I was thinking maybe remember we were sitting in the back. It was last week when I was like, maybe this Hanwha game is where the upset's going to happen. Oh, Wolf, it's going to happen. I'm going to get mad. And then they ended up throwing. But Hanwha showing some life here. Zeus coming to play. Like he played super well. Not just, hey, push, I'm going to create pressure. You guys need to play around it. It was, I'm going to push, create pressure, make some kills, TP in, and try to win these team fights. But ultimately ended up falling a little short. What were some of the thoughts that you had about Hama?
Well, I mean, I think Zeus had a great week in general after we've had a few weeks where it's players like Zeus that we hold to such a high standard. It's like why Guma gets so much hate, I think, is because we hold him to such a high standard that when he has just an off game or there's a draft...
Hate not from us. Just clarifying the hate not from us. Just, we don't, okay.
I'll have you guys know he talks smack about Guma off camera all the time. No, but like fans and analysts or whatever will hold these players to a high standard because they're really good. And when they have these peaks for so long, like Zeus had, like earlier this year, everyone was saying he's the greatest top laner of all time. Like everyone was saying it kind of indisputably. And it's like right then and there, right at that moment, he just has a bit of a drop off, and the whole team does, and it's tough, right? But this week, I feel like just surged back to near peak form like he was before. And the Jax game was a tragedy because he played incredibly well in the side lanes. His team fights were immaculate. And then there was the TP bug that happened.
The TP. Oh my gosh.
Just to give everyone context about this, because I see that most people are aware of this because I've seen comments on Reddit, I've seen tweets about this. And it seems like most people, like this isn't a big controversy to most people because there's two major things here. This bug with the teleport, where if you teleport next to a wall, you can, especially on this wall, if the ward is touching it, basically, or the target of the TP, so it doesn't have to be a ward, but like it could be like even if there was a minion there, for example, you TP to, or some sort of summon from another champion is on that wall, you can actually, based on the direction you fly, like the teleport flies from, because the teleport actually like flies from a direction now, because it's not just like a warp, like you actually physically move there. You will often get stuck on the wall, on the side of the wall from the angle you took. So this is kind of a known thing, right? People know about this. And so like, as a result, it's not like a thing that he can say, like this is a bug, because it's a known bug. Beyond that, he also did not pause until very late. So I think most people didn't give him a lot of credit for that, because if he had paused immediately, I think there would have been a lot more discussion about this. But he kind of tried to team fight, got blocked by Keria, by the way. Amazing play on the Bard. Like Keria outplays him. But imagine if he had been closer, like where he had TP'd to when the fight starts. I think the fight looks completely different, and maybe they actually win that fight and potentially the game, because it was a really nice angle for him. His performances in the team fights were so good, dGon. Like he looked so good on this Jax pick. I want to see him play Jax more. But yeah, ultimately, like that bug was a big moment in that game. But I got to give T1 credit, because like I said, in the fight that ensued, like they played it better. They outplayed him. Sure, he had to play with the cards he was dealt. He was able to get over the wall, still looks for the play, has the Zonias, right? But they still stop him, Keria with an amazing block there on his advance, and then they win the fight. But Viper didn't have a great game, didn't have a great series overall. It was the Zeus show, and Peanut had his show later on in the week, obviously against GenG, but I'm just hyped to see that like these individual players are having their moments. Like if Peanut can hit that Vi game every game, if Zeus can hit that Jax game every game, and Viper can be what he has been like all year every game, if Zeka can maybe come back, I'm waiting for the Zeka pop-off game. If Zeka gets back, then I'm like, wait a minute, Delight's been pretty consistent. Maybe Hanwha Life can take more games off of these teams.
Yeah, I know that we've hammered the fight home a lot, but for me, it just, if you go back and rewatch the fight, because we watched it a bunch of times to try and figure out what happened, where the bug was, while we were trying to, before they told us what it was, what the pause was for.
Yeah, we were looking at Sundered Sky procs and stuff like that. We're like, what is he pausing for?
Yeah, it was, Zeka went in like right when the TP finished. So we talked a lot about it being the TP for Zeus, but it really messed with the team, because Zeka went in. Delight engaged as well, but Delight's engaged. He like kind of engaged against the wall, or something weird happened with his engage. But the go button was at that time. It was all at the same time, and it just feels bad that, hey, they've got T1 in a less than 1,000 gold lead, like equal state. Here's an opportunity to play it out, and to have it kind of end that way just felt disappointing. It just felt very, very disappointing for the situation, I'd say. And a bummer and a tilter, and really kind of forcing Hanwha to reset later on in that series. And then in game 2, they do the same thing. They keep it close. They get to a big catch, to a big team fight that leads to them having a massive lead after killing multiple people on the top side of the map. And then eventually start getting picked apart because they overforce their hand, and T1 then just capitalize on it with a couple of team fights, and that was that. It just was so. That's not how I wanted that series to go, Wolf. Like, I wanted them to get a win. I wanted them to get that fight and play it out, quote unquote, fairly, like equally, I'd say. And unfortunately, they didn't have that, and the cards that they were dealt sucked. It's just a disappointment to me.
And focusing on, like, obviously we're kind of focusing on this from the Hanwha perspective because they're the underdogs, right? And we expected T1 to, well, I did, and you were like, maybe it's not, but like ultimately you did agree that like T1 should smash them. Yeah. So we kind of went the series thinking, I don't think Hanwha have it in them, and then they were like, oh, actually we kind of do. We almost did, and that's exciting. To talk about the T1 side of this for a second. Holy fuck, Keria is insane right now. I think he's very clearly the best support right now in the league. You have Guma, who's playing extremely well. His Lucian is so scary. I think Lucian is quietly one of the OP picks right now in this meta. We're just seeing it dominate lane when lane 2v2s are so important, and AD carry is arguably the most important role. I think there are a lot of supporting casts, right? The jungler, especially if you have a pick like Wukong, can make the enemy AD carry's life miserable. It can give you a lot of power as well, to even peel for you as an AD carry. But Guma's Lucian is looking insane. Like Guma's Sivir, also great. His Jhin, which teams are finally starting to take away from him, is also, I would say, the best in the league right now. So the T1 look scary, and I am really looking forward to BO5s with these three teams because it's going to get epic. It's going to get awesome. I think T1 will be tested a little bit more in terms of drafting than they have been overall, but like Doran, 0-4, and Bessa, but made such an impact in that game.
Yeah.
These are the types of things that really showcase the level of play we have at the top of the top, like in Korea, and probably by extension the world, right? Like these players have already proven that they can be at the top of the world. Like even the Hanwha players who did it at First Stand earlier this year. So, just watching this happen. Yes, it ended up being a 2-0. Yes, the end result seems one-sided, but that's just the legend group, right? Like if you're almost there, you're almost amazing, but your TP's over the wall. Like you got stuck there. Your engages with like. Keria outplays you, like that's a legend group. Like you will lose those, and then in game 2, like you're almost there, but you get outplayed, right? And that's just how it is. But I think Hanwha should be, in my opinion, happy with how their week went, especially the T1 series. We'll talk about the GenG series in a second, but you kept your second place spot this week. Like you didn't lose control yet, and it was very clear for several weeks that you were not the second best team. So now that you can go toe to toe, makes it feel like, okay, like we still got this. We could still win this tournament. We could still defend our title.
Yeah, definitely wrinkles that you can pull out in the draft is because that's what GenG did to T1 in their most recent matchup. I think it was that multi-flex that ended up working out for them. Could lead to small advantages that Hanwha would be able to take advantage of, and of course, don't ward the wall. Let's move to the second game here, or second series here that Hanwha had with GenG. This one, they're able to take a game away. This one was more about the renaissance of Peanut. Like Peanut 100%. on a champion where he was running the game. It was his Xin Zhao, I believe, which he had a tougher time in the T1 series to have an impact on. And that just felt good. Like he needed to have a good game, and I know he's a vet, but it just felt like Wolf, he needed the confidence pick up a little bit.
He got the Vi, and his Vi popped the hell off, dGon. Like he did a lot of work. He was impacting all the lanes early. He had some really cool plays to shut down side lanes. He showcased how broken Sundered Sky is in that mid team fight. Like the only team fight that looked like GenG, maybe like they got a catch, maybe they can turn this, and the Peanut shows up. I had serious issues with Hanwha's drafting in this series, especially game one.
Yeah.
And I was like the Ahri pick was totally not it. It was so obvious in the draft that like the Ahri pick stuck out like a sore thumb. They're not going to get Ahri Vi. They didn't get Vi Rumble. They went Yunara into Wukong up. That was like such a bold statement that from Viper and the rest of the team that, oh, we can pull this off against the best jungler right now in Canyon. They did not, right? Canyon with 306. Ruler got big. And like the thing about this is one of those justice for supports games where everyone's like, Duro won the big team fight, but like Ruler took his lead and just took a dump on Hanwha. Like he fought collectors so fast in this comp that has no tank really, and like he showcased that Peanut in fact was not a tank. For those of you guys who didn't watch, like he walked up to Peanut, like autoed him and Gatling gunned, and then went down to like 10% health in 2 seconds, and then Duro sniped him with redemption.
Yeah.
I'm dying here. It was a very great performance from Ruler. Like we've seen so many games where Ruler just gets a slight lead and then just like absolutely gaps the enemy AD carry with his gold. Like in the mid lane, he's like, I push the wave in, I will kill you under your turret, or you'll drop the wave. It's up to you. Gio was like, no, I can get that wave. He was like, no, you're dead. Nice try, by the way. You should have flashed. I can get that wave. No, you can't get that wave. Ruler's like, you can't have that. It's not allowed. They funneled resources into him in this game. They gave him a ton of money, and he just was like, yeah. Like Keen, he was super far behind. Zeus had a massive lead. They focused Keen down in the team fight. It was not an intelligent choice, and then Duro had the turn right with the Rakan. Like that happened. But Ruler, man, when they had that lead, there's just no way to get on top of Ruler because the Wukong and the Azir and the Rakan are going to stop you if you try to get in. Like the Yunara can't do damage, and Ruler's just sitting back like, yeah, every auto I do really hurts. That was just a really impressive game from GenG. But I think the Ahri pick made it so hard for Hanwha Life, and I just don't. They then, by the way, like a lot of people were like, well, Wolf, like maybe Zeka thinks that's the counter to Azir. No one else really thinks that right now. And he was also like 20 to 30 CS behind Chovy the whole game, lost the lane pretty handily with no jungle assistance from Canyon. Chovy like did that weird dash thing where he like
Dash
went into the
wall.
turret, and that was very weird. And then he didn't die, but had to flash. But like that was the only mistake Chovy made, and he still just maintained his lead the whole time. So I just don't. If Zeka thinks this is the angle where he's like, no, actually, it's not about Ahri Vi. I just think Ari's great into his ear. Chovy just completely destroyed him there. So I don't know if that was really what he was thinking about, but it certainly didn't work.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time in the post game one talking about draft and going with the different scenarios. And Wadid just came to the conclusion that their read is we have the damage in late game scaling Yunara. We have damage with Rumble there as well. What is a utility setup champ that I can use that will make space for Yunara? And the two obvious answers that are in the meta were Ahri and Annie. And the reason why they picked it early on was that they didn't want GenG to figure out and ban out Ahri and Annie. And if you're thinking about these matches right now in rounds 3, 4, and 5 as testing grounds for a 5-game series, you need to pick that there. And I think that's why all of us were like, why didn't you take anything else there? I think it was that, to me, felt like an experimental pick to try and get an edge and kind of forcing it. All of us noticed, like, why are we forcing this pretty low priority mid laner in this spot here? So
I just, I can see kind of what it means by this, because if you can, try to peel for the Wukong a little bit with the charm, or give your AD carry like some space, or maybe you charm Duro.
Yep.
And then it's like, okay, now you just focus Duro, and then the fight is won because no one can get on top of Yunara. Like I can kind of see it from that perspective, almost like it has both engaged, but it can peel a little bit and has good burst damage, maybe. But Yeah, I think this was I think this was just a draft error. Like I think it's that simple. Like Hanwha just kind of messed it up and then realized later like, oh, this we should have gone a different way. We should have gone for the Vi, or we should have moved away from the Rumble and gone for something a little bit different there. So anyway, it didn't work out, but like that game was only disappointing to me because of that Ari. And we didn't get to see what Viper is capable of in true team fights, because the game was over after Duro charmed them on that turn when they looked to focus down the, like, at the time was 0-2, I think, when might have been 0-3, and it didn't work, and Duro just made a mockery of them, and then the game was over. The rest of the series got interesting though with the Vi pick I mentioned in game 2 that they didn't pick in game 1. Viper Zaya was insane. Chovy had some really weird moments in that game, like he TP'd into a ward that was on top of Hanwha Life in the Otacon contest.
Yeah.
And Delight like just flashed and perfectly timed it and just denied Chovy even the opportunity to flash out. He was just like, what? And then they just killed Chovy. It felt like in that second game, GenG were trying to like play with their food a little bit disrespectful in a lot of those team fights, and Hanwha 100% punished. It still came down to a close scenario in the end game where they did get a catch onto, I want to say it was Zeka, but I'm not sure who they engaged on. But then Peanut was able to turn it. It wasn't Zeka actually. It might have been Zeus actually. Anyway, they're able to turn it in the mid lane. Peanut comes through and gets like a million sundered Sky Procs and has Sterex, and then I think it's Zeka who shows up second, and they end up winning the longer fight. Viper shows up. Still, I think GenG knew what their win cons were in that late game moment, but that was kind of a game where I give Peanut a ton of credit because he ran the early game, as we talked about earlier, and popped off really hard. But it was also Canyon making some mistakes, Chovy making some mistakes. So the punish game for Han was absolutely really strong, and GenG need to play better, which they have been, but in this game they need to play better if they're going to win with a draft like this.
Well, and that's what was exciting about the week for Hanwha and the week for Legend Group. If you're a neutral party, okay, like you can't just stroll through and get away with the win. Hanwha's reminding everyone they're also a team that if you give them a lead, they can close the game out, because that's just something we don't see in the Rise group, where it doesn't matter if you have a lead or not. Really what matters is, do you start Otacon or not? But Han was showing that they can do Otacon, give them a lead, they'll go ahead and close out the game. Game 3 ends up being just a pretty slow affair, and then the game bursts open for GenG's favor at a big Drake fight that just was a little discombobulated. They also gave over Pantheon, which was that to me was the draft error. That was
well, there were a few things, like giving over the Pantheon was a problem. The Karma that was supposed to win lane, that's good and all, but then they ended up with this lane where Ruler is able to lane into the Aatrox, and the Karma Sivir is laning into the Scion, which is exactly what the Scion wants. Like the lane assignments got messed up, and so they just kind of got to free farm, and Chovy did serious work on the Ziggs. And it was just one of those series where you get to the point where the Ziggs is big and he's taking turrets out, and you don't have enough control over the map. Your Sivir is struggling to be able to do anything with the wave clear that she has in the mid lane. And then the game becomes this, I hope I catch someone with the Jarvan. And like, Duro did get caught that one time. Ruler was caught, but then was able to trade a kill. And they knew, like, okay, we're behind. We've got to find these Jarvan angles. Maybe we can steal a win away. But GenG overall just outplayed them and didn't make any big mistakes. Chovy was like putting points into his W for satchel safety, as I like to call it.
No, you can't just make it not be a big deal, Wolf.
But it did hurt his
maxed W. He maxed W.
Maxed W second, by the way.
Who maxed W second? Yeah, sorry. Who maxed W second? Like, you get so much damage out of your E. The utility is there with the slow. It clears the minion wave on its own. The CD that you get from the satchel is small, and maybe that's that's what you're thinking here. But I like, our resident Ziggs expert is Ox. Lost his mind. He lost his mind.
So I wanted to actually check the cooldown reduction on it. It's 2 seconds per level. So, And like the minefield does not get any CDR, it just gets a ton of AP scaling, which is why like it's really broken. But yeah, you get 2 seconds per level up with a satchel charge. And because there's a Jarvan on the enemy team, and like he, by the way, did satchel like a flag and drag early on in the game incredibly
cool.
well. I think that's actually the reason why he decided like he's gonna max W second. And especially in the winning game state, he might have done it. He might have decided like after he's maxing his Q, like, you know what, like all I need to do is not die and win this game. Like I'm reaching here, but I think that's probably the mentality he had. You know, Chovy was the guy who built 2 haunting guys. You know, Chovy sometimes does things that you just have to trust. And like I know it made Ox mad. I know Ox is obsessed with like the numbers, but if he doesn't die, which by the way, 406 he didn't die, who can blame him? Who can blame him?
Ox did do a little bit deeper digging and said that he does this every time he plays Ziggs. So
Oh, really? Okay, well, in
yeah.
this case, then I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah. I know.
He just wants to demolish turrets faster and get more money.
All right.
He's like, I gotta have that satchel detonation every time when that turret hits that threshold.
Something to learn from the geniuses of the game. We had Faker on the space for a post game interview, and we did ask him, "Hey, I watched you to get better at the game. How do you get better at the game? What do you do?" And he goes, "Well, I think about the game a lot, and sometimes it just comes to me." And I think that's what Chovy just did there. He was like, "You know what? Not immobile if the cooldown goes down by 10 seconds or however many seconds it'll go down by if we max rank W." The geniuses of the game. We just get to bask in their greatness. That was Hanwha's week. Final thoughts on Hanwha's week here, Wolf.
I mean, just it was a hopeful week. I think it's a hopeful week. I think tighten up some of the drafting. Play towards your strengths. Don't try to do anything too fancy. Like, don't get tripped up by GenG picking some high tier picks that work well together, and then do something silly. You know, like trying to play Karma or something like that, or trying to, I don't know, pick Ari into the Azir you gave over because you traded too many picks because you banned like Pantheon and Varus on blue side. Like, don't get too fancy with it, all right? Like, you banned the Aurora, yeah, Keen's gonna play Gwen. Like, that's what he's gonna do, you know? You crushed him, but then you messed up the engages. My biggest issue with Honda this whole year has been the setup in team fights has been just incredibly like, we're winging it, we're freestyling it. The light's gonna go in, Viper will carry, it'll be fine. But with Peanut on Vi, it looks a little different, you know? Like, those are the team fights that where you're like, okay, this is coordinated, this is well set up. And Hanwha haven't had that many games against weak teams, right? Like outside of KT and Nongshim, right? That's the majority of their games, or well, half of the games, I guess to say, but the games that people pay attention to, the games we care about, are against GenG and T1. And that's really stiff competition. So it is tough to look good in those team fights. But I think this week gives you hope that if we have a similar week next week, maybe this team could ramp up in time for playoffs, because playoffs is all that matters, really, at the end of the day. These are just kind of little checkpoint tests, and Hanwha is still fighting for the second place spot, which is relevant. But the big story is, can they beat these teams in BO5s?
Well, we don't have to wait too long, Wolf, because the Saturday Showdown, it's Hanwha Life Esports against GenG. They go back-to-back weeks, and so they'll see if they can implement some of the things that they learned. All right, before we dive into some of our, I guess, the rest, the big clump in the middle, it's time to introduce you to one of the new friends of the show. And it's our friends over at HelloFresh. Now, HelloFresh is a cooking service that sends you chef-crafted recipes and fresh ingredients to your home. But this summer, they made their biggest menu upgrade yet. This isn't the HelloFresh you remember. It's bigger, as they've doubled their menu. You can now choose from 100 options each week, including new seasonal dishes and recipes from around the world, digging deeper into portions that'll keep everyone satisfied. Healthier, where you can feel great with an even healthier menu filled with high protein and veggie packed recipes. HelloFresh now helps you eat greener with new veggie packed recipes that have 2 or more veggies, and of course, tastier, where you can get steak and seafood recipes delivered every week for no extra cost. That's 3 times more seafood now on the menu at no extra cost. Discover new seasonal produce each week from snap peas to stone fruit to corn on the cob and more. Cooking is one of the essential skill sets to have as a human, as Wolf knows. And what better way to do that than HelloFresh? You get to take away a lot of the things you know and just follow the instructions and learn through osmosis, Wolf.
Yeah, I mean, just make sure that you can get some quality ingredients and make good food. Like, it's really important. We talked about this so much on this show, actually, and across this network. Is like eating good food is really important for your life, and having to be able to do that in a convenient way will be life changing. I think for a lot of people. You know, if you want to get fit or you want to lose weight or, you know, you want to feel better, like food and your diet is the place to start, and HelloFresh can help you with that.
The best way to cook just got better. Go to HelloFresh.com/Monte10FM now to get 10 free meals. That's the FM. And a free item for life. 1 box per active subscription. Free meals applies as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's HelloFresh.com/Monte10FM to get 10 free meals and a free item for life. That's Monte10FM at HelloFresh.com/Monte10FM for 10 free meals and a free item for life. Thanks to our new friends over at HelloFresh. Pick up the skill set, learn how to cook, and take control of your diet. Thanks to our friends over at HelloFresh. All right, let's get into some of the sad boys of the Legends group who had a rare moment of hope and a rare moment of celebration because KT won a game for the first time in 3 months, Wolf. 3 months. They did not win the series, but they won a game. And KT win their first series since last time they beat Nongshim, which was like 3 weeks ago. Almost a complete 4 weeks ago. It was part of the worst day of round 3, 4, and 5 I think we're going to have, which was KT Nongshim and then DRX being K3X, where looked like neither team wanted to win as much as they wanted to not lose. But they did win. KT got the win. We got to see some life from them. We got to see some life from Kingen, from Nongshim, but it was tough. I feel go.
Peter is back. Okay, Peter is back. That's good. We knew that it was going to be better this way. I don't know why the coaching staff decided to put Wei in. Like, it's still a bit of a mystery to me. If somebody knows, like, please tell me in the comments if there was like an interview or some public information I've missed, because I've been scouring to try to find out why Peter was subbed out, and like it just doesn't make any sense to me. I think most people on the internet agree like this was a weird choice, and now he's back and he's popping off again. So that's good for KT. I think KT in general feel very confident in this matchup against Nongshim because of how it went last time. And I think they know that they're the stronger team right now, although in the standings they were not leading up until the end of round 2. But they had that resurgence at the end of the second round and then looked really good. Like, they solidified their roster because they were subbing a bunch of people in and out, obviously, before that. And like, KT actually looked like a strong team. Like, I legit think this team is pretty good. They just get a mental block against the top 3. That being said, like, I have a lot of less good things to say about Nongshim at the moment. Like, Nongshim have individual player, like certain games of Nongshim, individual players have basically lost the game for their team. Like, I think that, and it's not even like a consistent thing where, for example, I know everyone's hearing me say this right now, and they're like, I know he's talking about Jiwoo. It might be like, I know he's talking about Lehens. But like, no, I think you guys are probably expecting me to say Jiwoo. Jiwoo has had some really bad games. Like, most people on the global side are putting this guy as the bottom 80 carry in the league. Like,
yes.
Like, below Berserker, Teddy, Hype. Like, people are saying this guy is the weakest, and he's playing the Legend group. So he's had some really rough games. I thought his Aphelios game, weirdly, even though they lost, was pretty decent. Like, that was okay. But he's just not performing, right? And like, this was an issue against Duckdom, who is performing, and Duckdom is good, and Duckdom is actually a strong AD carry player, which we've known, and he looks really good whenever he's playing with Peter. Surprise, surprise, more than when he's playing with Wei. And G is a problem. Lehens was a problem in this series as well. By the way, who went like, let me read his score lines out for you guys across the series. They did win one game. He was 0-5 on the Nautilus, which he got caught quite a bit in that game. He controlled the early game because for some who knows what reason they decided to draft Poppy into Elise on the side of KT.
That was so bad.
That didn't work, by the way. But even though Lehens controlled that lane and got Gio incredibly fed, and Gio did go 7 kills on the Varus and popped off with his Halo Blades, like he actually did really well in the lane phase. By the way, outside of lane, it was a bit of a struggle, wasn't it? Like he wasn't really getting that much done there. But in terms of like the lane and then the lane swap and the lane dominance that Lehens set up for him, he did great. But Lehens just kept like kind of running forward and dying. Sometimes they baited the enemy team in and they won those fights. But like I wasn't super happy with how Lehens played the second half of that game. But look, his early game was great. It's his Elise. We'll let it go. But then in the third game, his scoreline there 0-4-10 on the Elise. Third game 0-6 with 4 assists on the Bard, where he was also consistently caught and punished and picked off. So sometimes it's Lehens, sometimes it's you. It has like also sometimes been Kingen, but not really for the most part for the second half of the year, and really like even since round 2, like he just started to pop off. But like everybody needs to have when I say 10 out of 10 here, I mean for them, like everyone needs to have their best game every day if Nongshim's going to be competitive with these other teams. Like I need to see Kingen's 10 out of 10. Like I need to see Kingen's best every game. And like Kingen normally you can trust. Gideon for the most part I can trust. It's Calix, Gio, and Lehens where I'm like, I saw you last week playing way better than this. What's going on? And for Gio, the average now has become like he's not hitting his peaks, right? That's the biggest problem. But then you have Calix and Lehens kind of alternating bad games where it feels like maybe like 2 out of 5 games you can trust they're going to play their best, but the other 3, it's just a coin flip. And if you have a bad game against these legend teams, even KT will just thrash you. They will just thrash you. Like it won't look close. So I think KT kind of having it's funny to say this because last time they 2-0'd and this time they 2-1, but I think KT proved what they're capable of again in this series. And it makes you wonder that if with the right draft and the right conditions, could they take a game off of our big 3?
Yeah.
But for Nongshim, like it feels hopeless. Like Nongshim, this game, like it feels like they won game 2 because KT picked Poppy and Skarner, and you're like, what did they do? Why did they do that? Like it feels like you won that one from draft alone. Because Gio looked invisible even though he was fed on the Varus. Like I have concerns. Like, Ox said, yesterday that he thinks that KT would beat anyone in the Rise group, but he's not sure about Nongshim. I think Nongshim would beat most Rise group teams. I still think there's a gap there. But I don't know. Sometimes you wonder.
I don't think so. I think that they would lose to all the play-in teams. Almost all the play-in teams.
I think they 100% lose. Like, I'm okay. I don't want to say the 100% lose. I think it's 100% losable to Bro and BNK. Like, yes. Bro and BNK 100%. Like, I might pred them, but I'd think about it a lot. But like, those are very losable.
I just think that Nongshim lack the firepower that some of these rosters have. Like in the mid lane. Like I think that's what's saving KT. Like you look at Cuz and you look at BDD and you look at Duckdom and you're like, these guys have been around for a while, not in terms of ranking number, but in terms of like grade of player. These guys get solid grades and the floor, like when they're playing bad, their floor is still higher than the floor of the Nongshim players, and the ceiling, not higher than the ceiling of the Nongshim players. And I think that's the issue that plagues Nongshim. And the reason why Calix came into this roster in the first place for Fisher, it was Fisher had some high highs and low lows, and Calix was kind of like the middle of the road kind of guy to enable Gideon Grubbs and getting him, going. And you could deal with Kingen's and Lehens's kind of ups and downs. But now, brother, that game too, I forgot who was with me in the space, but like there was an engaged. Jin
Oxenwood,
started
right?
ulting. Yeah, it was Oxenwood did. They were like breaking down something that was happening, and it was breaking their brain. And like Jiwoo ults backwards. It was Chrony. It was Chronicler and did.
Oh, that's right.
He
No, I think
ults
actually it might have
backwards.
been me and Cronny actually thinking about it again. Not sure, but
Nah,
I remember this
not on
ult. I
Saturday.
remember this ult. I remember
He-
this ult.
They're like running away, and he just panic ults backwards on Varus, and I'm like, brother, what are you doing? And no one saw it, and it was just, I don't know, man. Like, I can't imagine how quickly the confidence loss affects a player. Like it goes back to what Atlas said during the cast with Peanut. He's like, it looks like he had some of Mike's secret stuff. You know, the shout out to Space Jam, and I feel like Jew got sapped by the Monstars. Like he doesn't know how to play anymore. He's lost it. He has lost it. Out of maybe I'm trying to think. Doo-doo life on DNF, or are the other players that might have lost it? But even then, life has been relegated to super sub, and that's worked out pretty well for him.
I mean,
I think Jiwoo has lost it the most out of any player in the league. Oh, I know, Shiwoo. Jiwoo and Shiwoo have both lost it from the beginning of the year to where they're at now. And Nongshim are unable to gain the benefits of being in the legend group because they have a gaping confidence gap at the support role. And I feel bad that I'm dunking on a player and I'm dunking on Shiwu, but he made me watch that game. And so I'm going to give raw feedback here.
Let's think about it like this. So remember the game where Gio just got completely blasted by Ruler?
Yes.
And Ruler was playing Jin, and I don't even remember what Gio was playing. That's what I remember anyways. So, like Ruler just like solo kills him because he doesn't flash. He just gets hit by the, like, I want to say he gets hit by a flourish, gets auto, and just like dies in the mid lane. I could be remembering it wrong, but everyone knows the moment I'm talking about, right? We're all like watching, like, you can't die like this. Like, this makes no sense. It's sometimes when you're a player, if you've competed in any sport, like sometimes your coach is telling you, like, hey man, you got to be more aggressive. Like, don't let them walk all over you. Whatever. You've got this thing in the back of your mind where you're thinking like, I gotta stand up to Ruler in this, because if I just walk away, he's gonna hit the turret. I'm gonna lose this wave, and like you have this mentality of like, I keep walking away, and my coach is telling me I'm giving up too much farm and mid. You know, sometimes that I'm making this story up, right? But like sometimes you have this mental block where you're like not able to assess in the situation what's the correct choice, because you're like, I need to be doing more farming in the mid lane. I need to make sure I don't get bullied too much in the mid lane, because that keeps happening to me. Because by the way, it's been happening to him like every series. Like he just, when they get out of bottom lane and they match in the mid lane, like he loses every time and gets pushed in, and his team doesn't have prio, and it's a big problem, right? So maybe he's like, I gotta hold my ground here. Ruler's like, idiot, kills him, right? Then he goes into the Varus game where he's super fed, and he's like, maybe I don't step up too much, you know, like it's been a little bit rough. Like when I tried to hold my ground, I tried to pressure mid a little bit more aggressively. Like I got killed. I want to play back. I want to play a little bit safer. I want to make sure I don't die. And like he panic ults backwards when the engage comes through, even though he was actually totally fine there. I remember that exact ult you're talking about on the Varus in that second game. They win it anyways, but like moments like that where you could just clearly tell like something is in his mind, like something is bothering him, like something, he's not playing as if he's just a professional player showing up and just, he's like, I know I'm Fed Varus, I do what Fed Varus does, like I just play this perfectly, like we win this, it's a done deal. Like he's still got demons, like, you know what I mean? Like he's fighting something as well as the other team at the same time. You could just tell, you know what I mean? And like I've watched a lot of these pro gamers. Like, I've obviously watched you for multiple years now, but I've just watched pro gamers in general for like the last 12, really like almost 15 years. Actually looking back, it's been 14 years since I've been like commentating players here in Korea. Wow, I'm really old. Old. And like sometimes you just can tell that a player is like working something out on their own, like outside of what's happening in the game. It just really feels like that's what's going on with you. So I hope he can get over it and recover, because he was one of the shining lights on this roster last year. Obviously a different roster, but like one of the shining lights on this roster last year, and now it is he's definitely like the one that's dragging them down more than anything else, to put it bluntly.
and maybe he is, now that I went in hard on him, I'm starting to feel bad. Maybe he is the product of that dysfunctional last year into a very different style of organization this year, even though it's the same team. It's Lehens and Kingen, right? Last year, he was the guy. Last year, Jiwoo was the shining light of Nongshim, and he had Peter. He had Cougar come out of retirement and be like the 30-year-old rookie or whatever it was. Yeah, they had Vital. Like, he was like, oh God, like, help me. And now with Lehens there, and Lehens is very demanding, and he's very we've heard their comms, we've listened into their comms.
He's very vocal about how he feels about how his AD carry is performing.
Yeah.
He had a large impact on Paze's development.
He did. And so I think he's now he was supposed to come here and be the whisperer for Jiwoo. Hasn't quite worked out for him yet. And all that we can see now is that Jiwoo looks shook. It doesn't look the same, and it's tough to kind of figure out why and figure out solutions to make it better in the near future. All right. Well, that was, like I said, that was the clump. That was the sad clump there of KT and Nongshim. Feels a little bad. Feels a little stinky. But you know what won't make you stinky? Our friends over at Mando. You've heard us talk about their products before. They are great products that we use on the go, constantly inside of Wolf's bag for our own personal BO maintenance. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated, clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Mando has multiple different product options like the solid deodorant stick, the spray deodorant, some of the creams, soap as well. Different things to stop BO before it even starts. All products are baking soda free and paraben free and clinically proven to control better than just shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, Wolf, the average man's grundle odor was a level 5 out of 10. But with Mando, the average grundle odor level is a 0 out of 10. So if that doesn't kind of entice you, then you must not smell at all, which is crazy and impossible. So head on over to shopmando.com and get the starter pack, which is perfect for new customers. Comes with the solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like the mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And a special offer for listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code Monte Wolf at shopmando.com. That's Monte Wolf at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide plus free shipping. shopmando.com. Please support the show and tell Mando that we sent you. Mando's got you covered. Protect your pits. Smell great doing it. Thanks to our friends over at Mando.
I will say, once you get your product, try all the different types, but do not try to smear it on Dplus Kia on your monitor at home. It's not going to stop them from stinking. It's just not going to, I will say it'll stop any stink on your body, but you can't apply it to other things in your life that really suck, like Dplus Kia does right now.
Yes. 2 back-to-back 2-0s. The hope started building. Showmaker's back, baby. Shu and Lucid, they don't suck that much. And you got aiming there, and Beryl decided to win. Remember, he decides to lose, he decides to win, and he was deciding to win. Going into Bro, the matchup against Bro, the final match of the week, I was nervous because the Bros lost to the DN Automotive Freaks. They were in a very giving mood, and 2 win streak Dplus come strolling on in. And Dplus, throw out a clunker, man. It was 2-0 to the Giga Chads, taking down Dplus Kia and bringing him right back down to earth. And it's just more Rise Group, baby. There's just more disappointment and never really knowing who's stronger than who at any given time.
Well, like you and I predicted Dplus to beat DRX, right? But we also
Yes.
predicted
Oh
Bro
no,
to beat.
I that was my upset pick of the week. Lol.
Okay,
I tried to
so
fade them.
I predicted Dplus to beat DRX because they beat them last time. I think stylistically they're the stronger team. I don't think that DRX has like here's the reason why like I have been able to predict both Dplus Kia to lose to Bro, but also to BNK last week is because Dplus Kia has literally no idea what to do past mid game in team fights. They just don't know what to do. They don't know how to approach Baron. They don't know how to turn off a Baron. They don't know how to stop a Baron. They don't know how to fight for that soul point. They don't know how to fight for that soul. If they're not just getting picks in the lane in the mid to late game, oftentimes against a team that actually does have plans and setups and engages well and is confident, like a team that makes decisions straight up in terms of how to 5v5, like if maybe Paulo is like, I'm gonna go in and the team is like, I'm ready, let's do it. You just get Dplus just fall apart. Like it happens all the time. They're like on 5 different pages. Watch some of the team fights in that series, like that we just watched against Bro, and tell me that Dplus are communicating anything to each other. Like I can't see it. And the reason why I thought they beat DRX but not Bro is not just because Bro is higher on the tier list than DRX. It's because DRX has similar shot calling issues, and they just simply let Teddy carry. They're like, this is why I call them budget Hanwha. It's like Teddy is the same as Viper, where like Hanwha are way better at engage and way better at team fights and way better at setup, and like they generate better leads. There's better players, right? The quality of the roster is higher. But it's very similar in that like Andil sometimes just goes, we'll see what's gonna happen, and Rich goes in, and Teddy's like, all right, well my positioning is so good that I can just carry every time, and they often do. That's not going to be good enough against Dplus because Dplus also has just a higher caliber of players, right? They have a roster that's stronger. If you just kind of wing it into Dplus, who also is bad at engaging, their players are just better than you, so they win anyways. Like I feel like that's a matchup that's good for Dplus. It's like, oh yeah, you guys have no idea what you're doing in team fights. High five, but our players are better than you. Dplus's players are better than Bros on average, I would say. Like aiming is way better than Hype. Barrel is way better than Palu. Shiu and Lucid, versus the top side of Bro. Right now, definitely not. Like Morgan and Croco are better. But Dplus Key have no idea what they're doing in team fights. Bro actually know what they're doing in team fights. Bro actually know how to team fight 5v5. Dplus don't. So that's and same with BNK. I'm like, BNK know how to engage, get a pick, or start a fight off. They know the angles they can take. Like this roster will get you. Even Vickless is starting to figure out how he wants to fight in these 5v5s. So like Dplus have a serious shot calling issue. There's no coordination. Barrel is like trying to overdo it. I almost feel like at times where he's trying to find these picks and find these angles, keeps getting caught, keeps getting punished, keeps losing his summoners before team fights. So then he has less tools to use to then engage in team fights to set up those fights that they're struggling with. And like this to me, everyone kind of gets shocked by the Dplus losses, but for me, I'm like, it's literally been happening for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. Like this is not a new thing. Like it's not new. It's not like, wait a minute, are Dplus suddenly bad? Because you look at the standings, you look at the team name, you look at the showmaker name, and you're like, no, it's Dplus doesn't lose to Bro. Like what are you thinking, Wolf? And then you watch the game and you're like, how did they lose to Bro? I'm like, it's the same way they lost to BNK. It's the same way they lost so many of these games that they should not have lost this season. And I'm starting to wonder if they're going to lose to DNF because the quality of player, again, way higher on the side of Dplus. But now even DNF is starting to make shot calls. Like even DNF is starting to figure out how to team fight. So watch out, Dplus. Like they might be coming for you. Yeah. You cannot team fight. You just can't do it. Even with huge winning game states that you have, you just cannot 5v5. Figure it out or you're doomed.
This series has me questioning, right? Remember, Dplus went to Worlds last year. They kept the core 3 in the middle with Lucid, Showmaker, Aiming, returning. And then moved on from Kingen, and they moved on from both Kellen and Moham. I wonder, now that we know how, Nongshim kind of work, it feels like, all right, Kingen's on the flank, he'll clean up. And I feel like Kingen's the kind of guy that offers like, hey, I can do this. And then Moham came in for Kellen because Moham was decisive with his engages, almost Palu-esque, where better than Palu, I'd say. But he would go in and you'd see Kellen kind of pussyfooting around on everything except Alistair. And now you just I don't know who is making the calls. I don't know who is pulling the trigger for these guys, because she was now gun shy, because he's now, he's a rookie. We keep forgetting that he's a rookie, and he's going through his rookie slump, and now he's got to focus on himself a little bit more. I don't, Beryl is trying, like you said, Beryl's trying, but he's not the one pulling the trigger. It feels like if they get engaged on, they fold like a house of cards. And I just wonder, Beryl Showmaker, was that ever their thing? Was it just Canyon doing that before? Like, I don't know. I don't know. And that you've identified it earlier than everyone else, that they don't have someone that can know and organize everyone to get on the same page and hit the go button. All of those things at once. Maybe Showmaker is the one that organizes everyone to get on the same page, but then it never happens. And maybe he did that a lot and you just get cooked and you don't want to do it anymore. You're tired of doing it. I don't know. But it does feel bad that in some of these team fights, especially there was the team fight at Drake in game 2. Showmaker is on the bottom side trying to flank. Beryl gets absolutely chunked out by a hype full culling. Lucid is on Vi right next to hype to stop the culling and can't go in. Feels like he's like, all right, Beryl, dodge it. And it's this indecision that doesn't get solved when no one is talking.
This dragon fight, are you talking about the dragon fight where then Closer goes back with Paulo and turns on the Showmaker and gets Showmaker's on the flank and he gets killed at the end of the fight? You're talking about this fight, right, where Shiu comes in super late?
Yep.
I was casting this game. It was literally the most recent game I cast, so it's very fresh in my mind. But that fight, the late TP from Shiu, the way he decided to go for the flank and then didn't engage. They had to be the ones to engage first, and then Bro were I guess they won't do anything to stop us from getting the dragon. Yeah. And then Croco just ults because he's well, they can't get the dragon, I guess. And then Dplus during the ult kind of sort of half commit, and Bro were the fuck? I guess we get the dragon and we kill them? And Atlas pointed this out in the cast when I was malding in the replay. Obviously, Shiu kind of has to go in at the end of that fight because otherwise he just gets collapsed on and dies. He's hoping he can go in and kind of taxi his way back to the rest of his teammates. Maybe they can turn on it, but maybe he gets out somehow. He doesn't. Showmaker's on the flank, and then his Closer snaps back, and then he and Paulo kill Showmaker. But it's calls like that I'm seeing from Closer and Paulo where I'm look at the decision making. Look at how quickly they're Showmaker's an idiot. He can't be here. Showmaker's trying to make a play, and maybe if they don't realize they can 2v1 him that quickly, but with the CC they have, maybe Showmaker actually gets an exit kill there. But they're nope. Closer snaps back. Paulo's there for the root. They end up taking Showmaker out. It's that kind of quick call that you can make to punish Showmaker. It's honestly not even that impressive, but you could see they're doing the bare minimum, going all right, Showmaker's back there. Let's take him out. We know how to play this team fight out. Croco just being really good with the Maokai, a completely different jungle pick than the Wukong that he dominated on in game 1, where he actually saved the game and turned the game around because Dplus had pretty big leads in that one, and Croco was just nah, I'm gonna make this work with Closer, who had a great Annie performance too. And it's fights like that one from Dplus where there's just no clear plan. They're too slow on the setup. Shiu was proxying waves, could have TP'd in way earlier to then try to look for a setup. That just makes you really question who is calling. We thought Beryl was the shot caller that could fix this team's shot calling, and early on in the year it really felt we don't always know what the comms are exactly in these team fights, but it felt wow, the shot calling is way cleaner than it was last year. Maybe Beryl fixed it, but it seems maybe that's just not the case now. I personally feel on objective fights, 60 to 70% of whether you win the fight or lose it is your setup. And then part of your setup obviously is your engage. The setup that allows you to engage. The start of the fight, who starts the fight, who has the better positioning, that neutral fight is everything, which is why Prio is so important, why Vision is so important. If you can blind your opponents before the fight even happens, that's why you win most of those fights. It's not even necessarily about whether the AD carry has 2.5 items or 3 items. Sometimes that could be a huge difference maker, but that's the 30%, right? In your micro and how you play.
Yeah.
The 60-70% is like how you set up, and Dplus they just cannot find it. Like they seemingly cannot find the right setups and find the right engage. So even when they're ahead in these games, they just completely whiff it. They completely flop it. That's why I get so tilted when we come out of a replay into a team fight where it's like, you didn't miss any of the fight. I'm like, yeah, but like actually 70% of this is like, how did they get there? What angles did they take? Like, how did that rel get into position to find that engage? Like that's 70% of objective fights, and that's the 70% that Dplus is missing. Their micro, like Showmaker's hands are still there. I really think Showmaker still has hands, But like, if you guys can't figure out how to get your champions in the right position to actually use the incredible talent this roster has, then it just doesn't matter, right? And that's what they have to somehow solve. And it's not the first time we've talked about this for Dplus Kia, by the way. This is a more dire situation where they're actually losing to bottom of the table teams, whereas before we're like, it's a problem they're losing to like top and mid-level teams that they shouldn't be losing to. Now we're losing to the bottom teams, and it's just become more severe.
Well, it's bottom teams in a dominant way. Like, Bro looked like the better team. They, which felt good, like as a Bro fan, but it also reminded me of the DNF loss where the DNF throw where it was like, this doesn't look good for the other team. Like, yeah. So I just, it feels like them and Nongshim are the biggest losers of this group format here. They should be getting better, and it feels like the gap between them and the teams below them are fading. And then the same thing with Nongshim. They should be getting better, but their hope of catching KT or even dreams of trying to upset any of those other teams are fading as well. All right, man. Well, there you go. Those were the big storylines of this week. DNF got their win. Congrats, DNF. I'm so happy. Again, the fans celebrating a DNF win. Gosh, I think it was Berserker doing his because
it was on Liberation Day.
Because it was on Liberation Day. The fan behind him was like, yeah, you celebrate, Berserker. And I'm like, man, I wish those guys had more opportunities to celebrate like that. Because as the losingest general manager in LCS history, I know what that's like to only have 3 wins in a season. I'm pretty sure that's a true fact. Maybe I'm not the losingest, but I'm up there. All right, let's get to predictions and call it a day, shall we? DRX versus DNF will kick things off for us, brother. How about that for a banger?
This one's actually kind of tricky for me because they're very stylistically different teams. And I think DRX have similar issues, like I said, to Dplus. But then you go like, do they have the better roster? It's like maybe, but then you look at the DNF roster and you're like, actually, hold on, Pioshik is really good. Berserker is not like that much worse than Teddy, and on some of his games he might be better than Teddy. I kind of want to go DNF because they've also been looking better recently. They beat Bro. Now, all right, this week is really tough, by the way. So I usually don't like to do this, and I like to keep my Preds on Monte Wolf the same as my official LCK Preds, but I actually have a little bit more time to do LCK Preds. So there's a chance that my Pred here might be, my initial thoughts here today with you off the cuff might be different from my LCK Preds, but right now I'm leaning, I will on Monte Wolf do a DNF Pred. I actually think DNF can win this one.
I think it's a DRX win, even though I agree with most of your points, or all of your points, honestly. However, for DRX, their playoff lives are on the line from here on out. And I think if you're Coach Song and the team, there's no more hiding drafts anymore. Like, you know what you know. And you have to use all different tricks, which will, again, show if you make it to play-ins or somehow get a head-to-head tiebreaker game against Bro or BFX. So I think they've got a motivation edge. And I don't think it's pressure in a bad way because they won their last game. Like, this is probably the first time and only time these two teams go into playing a game against each other on winning streaks. I like your point about the indecision about DRX, and Pyosik has been decisive. Life has been decisive when he's the second guy in. When he's the first guy in, he's less decisive. When he's the second guy in, he's been very decisive and been playing well. But I think that DRX will pull this one out. I think this is a narrative pick for me. All right. GenG versus Nongshim.
Easy GenG. This was not the harder bread of the week.
KT versus Hanwha. Do we see some life from KT?
I think the series will be good, but I don't think I can, in good conscience, predict KT here. I don't think I can do that. I just don't think that they'll be able to cross the line. If Hanwha makes some draft mistakes and Duckers pops off, I could see potentially an upset here. Like, I don't think this matchup is a matchup where it's just going to be an easy 2-0 like stomp. I don't think it'll be a 2-0 stomp. I think it would probably be a 2-0, but I just think the quality of player here for Hanwha Life is still overall better. And Zeus is just so good right now, and Perfect is still not. Like, that's the main problem. That's the main problem here. So I'm gonna go Hanwha.
Bro and BNK Fear X.
Another really tough one.
14 series win streak for BNK Fear X versus the pros. Krakow and Closer were probably on the team when that win streak started against the bros. When they were on Live Sandbox.
I kind of want to say Bro, but I think that's a little bit of recency bias because of how they played against Dplus. The scary thing is Diablo's way better than Hype.
Wait, yes, but Diablo's been playing sloppy lately. He's been getting a pass.
That's true.
But he's been playing.
I mean, they
sloppy.
lost to DRX. Like, they did lose to DRX because of that. So
I honestly, I wasn't too worried about that. I was more worried about BNK Fear X's best player, in my opinion, but best performing player currently, Raptor, neutralizing Krakow, because Krakow has been having his way, which has been awesome to see. But I think if he doesn't have his way and has more to deal with within his own matchup, then I think that then removes a lot of the good engages. Because I think what happens is Palu engages, and then Krakow cleans up the fucking mess of whatever Palu just did.
Yeah, Palu he engages, but sometimes it's a good thing, and sometimes it's a bad thing.
Yeah. You know what? I'm already attached to it for the rest of the year. Give me the bros.
Oh, this one is really tough for me. I think I'm going to go Bro as well, though. I just think with the recent performances of both of these teams, obviously it's a recency bias thing, but like it's the most recent games and the most recent data that I'm predicting based on. So I think I'm going to go Bro here as well.
Nongshim versus T1. I don't know why my brain was like, wait, they're not in the same group. Sorry, Nongshim fans.
Yeah, no, I did the same thing. Remember when I was like, wow, there's a losing streak for one of these champions, and I was like, but it's all Rise teams. So there's like Peter and Lens are there. I'm like, I mean, sorry. I mean, it's not Rise teams.
That was so funny.
Yeah, no, T1. Yeah, next.
Dplus DRX.
Remember the thing I said earlier where I was like, it's a good matchup for Dplus because both of these teams don't really know how to team fight, but Dplus just has more good players and DRX has Teddy only. Yeah, I'm gonna go Dplus.
All right. Damn. If Dplus want to make it in, all right, DRX want to make it in. They need to. It's must win from here on out.
They need to win 2 more series than Bro, basically. Let me check again. No,
the B&K isn't safe yet either. Like B&K,
sure, but I mean, Bro is one. But Bro is one closer to DRX, yeah. And you only have to beat one of them, right? So like, yes, B&K could like lose everything, but still DRX would then have to win 3 times. So they need to get 2 more wins than Bro to tie with Bro, like because right now Bro's 2 wins ahead of them. They're also 6 games behind, but that's not a gap that you can't close. But the fact that Bro did beat DK really hurts DRX because it just feels like DRX isn't going to get that win over DK. Like that's just a bad matchup for them.
Yeah.
So if they can get it this time, and Dplus just continue to slump hard, then maybe they can catch them. Right now, I feel like it's kind of locked. Like it's really tough for DRX from here on out.
Yeah. All right. Give me the slump train. I'm taking DRX. Dplus are just in shambles. Hanwha versus GenG, the Saturday showdown, the biggest Saturday showdown until next Saturday showdown, which is what I say on the broadcast. Rematch time.
This one's kind of interesting, right? Because
they get a tune-up match against KT. I guess GenG get a tune-up match for Nongshim. So,
I mean, Hanwha Life kind of proved that they could do it, and they were able to win that single game. And like Zeus is really good at the moment. Like how he played against T1 makes you want to trust that if you could just play 10% better and draft 10% better, you could 2-0 GenG. Like it's that close. You know? Like I think that obviously GenG is way better in terms of what I'm expecting, et cetera, et cetera. They're massive favorites, but like that's how the legend group being way better is like such a small margin that if Han was ramping up, like they could actually break that ceiling. I just think that Ruler is so insanely good right now, and Duro is also performing so well that it's weird to say, like, yeah, I think Viper and Delight just won't be able to compete. But like I kind of feel like that right now in terms of recent games.
Yeah.
And Ruler's gonna come off of another dunking on Chiu earlier in the week. I think I'm gonna go GenG here. I know it's not that interesting. I gave it some thought, but ultimately I just think they're the better squad. Ruler is pretty insane. Like all three of our top 380 carries are really, really good, but GenG are just playing through Ruler better than anyone else is playing through their 80 carries. It feels like to me. So I'm gonna go Gen.
Yeah. I think I'm on the GenG wins from here on out train as well, unless Hanwha beats them on Saturday. So give me GenG. Bro versus the DN Automotive Freaks. It's payback time. This time it's personal.
I think this is the most exciting matchup of the week. Like actually unironically. Yeah, I picked this. I think. No, actually, I picked BNK DK.
I was gonna say that. I think that one's more exciting.
Both of these are like the best matches though. Like of the week. Sorry, Legend Group. Step aside. We already know what's gonna happen. It's pretty obvious. Too predictable. Bro DNF is hyped because of the storyline of that 20k gold swing, but also because DNF fixed a lot of their problems that plagued them when they lost that series to Bro. Because Bro, we talked about already, they beat Dplus the same way. They're like, we are decisive. If you're just gonna faff about and not do anything, we will destroy you, by the way, because we're actually a coordinated 5-man unit. But DNF have looked a lot more coordinated recently, and Pioshik is just out of control. Like I don't know what they did to get him back into form, but he might be the second best jungler in the Rise group right now in current form. I'm not talking about his whole year. I wouldn't say like his performance across the year warrant him to get second place performance wise, but well, right now I would say Croco.
Yes.
Okay. Because I don't think Raptor is quite as good as either of them, but he's very good. And like, am I missing somebody here? I don't think so. I think that's just it. Like, it's Croco and Pioshik right now. Sorry, Lucid, but it's not you. I think you might be the fourth jungler right now in this group. So anyway, I think that when you look at the matchups here, they're very close. Like Pioshik and Croco sounds hype as hell. Morgan I give an edge over Dudu, obviously, but then Berserker I give an edge over Hype.
Yeah.
And then Closer I give an edge over Bulldog. But I don't know, we don't even know what support. It might be both Quantum and Life in this series. And Paulu's been a little bit shaky. Oh, this one's really hard, man. Like I want to trust that Bro's going to get it done. And we might see DNF mess up their coordination, even though it's been way better recently. But if DNF play at their best, I want to pred them. But I think that if I kind of like game theory it or think about like what's the most likely scenario, I know that Bro isn't going to collapse or randomly not be coordinated. So I guess I guess I'm gonna go bro here, but I don't feel confident about this at all. Like it feels like a 52-48. But I'm gonna go bro.
These are the two. I got it now. The angle that I would take this match at. These are the two best drafting coaches in the Rise group since I guess they became in the Rise group because they changed coaches.
Their
Like,
drafts
Odin's
their drafts will never hold a candle in the Legend group. Never will work. But in the Rise group, if they draft for their team and they come up with good comps. Like
Yep.
I would agree.
Yeah. Give me the bros here. But with fear. Bros with fear. BNK and Dplus, the other
Probably about the worst drafting team in the Rise group, BNK.
versus the worst execution team in Dplus.
I think I'm predicting BNK again. Like they did it last time. Dplus haven't proven that they fixed any of their problems. And I just go BNK here. It's my match of the week. I think it's really hype, and Dplus could potentially get revenge here, and that's really exciting. I thought maybe Dplus would also fix some of their issues this week. They didn't. So BNK.
BNK as well. I thought I was fading. I thought I wanted BNK to lose later on so that DRX can get in and save our overall Preds, but no.
This week,
it is who do I think is going to lose more? It's not who do I think is going to win. Who do I think is lose more? I think it's Dplus. I think
I will get really mad this week if it's another like Dplus like wash of Preds. Everyone just is like, nah, BNK lost last week to DRX. So that's like the same reason why like last time when I predded BNK, everyone's like, Dplus just smashed DRX, bro. Like, were you even paying attention? I'm like, guys, we solved it, okay? Like, I'm pretty sure we solved it. I will be very upset if everyone just goes just goes Dplus here again after we literally know why Dplus got 2-0 stomped by BNK last time. I'm just don't please. I don't know if all of our global casters and analysts are gonna watch this Monte Wolf episode. They might watch part of it, but skip the Preds part at the end because like I already do my Preds. I don't care. But it's me reaching out through them, maybe like into the stratosphere. Like, don't Pred Dplus here, guys, or do because it's good for me and the Pred standings. I'm moving up. I'm out of the Wolf pit. I'm going up. And me and Valdez got 8 out of 10 week. We were the best of the week. You were 7 out of 10. You were close.
That's close.
Yeah, I'm rising up. I'm coming for you, Cronny.
And then we both picked T1.
Yeah,
in this telecom war.
That one is yeah.
There you have it. Those are our Preds for week 14. 2 weeks to go here in the LCK regular season before we move on into play-ins. Solved, but not done. That's what I would call it. Final words, Wolf?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to week 15. Looking forward to T1 GenG and playoffs.
And we'll be here to break week 15 down and recap week 14, of course. See you later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.